And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this Monday, October 30th. There it is, folks. Here it is, right here, October 30th, 2017. Thank you, reporting live from the Chanigung Palace to all the kings and queens of the Kingdom of God. Welcome this morning. If you're just joining us now, we are now with Commissioner Matt Osterberg. What an incredible patriot. Sometimes I know I drive him crazy. You know, when we were so thankful to our commissioners, because we had our whole congregation at his office and at his meetings, the commissioners' meetings, and we were talking about the NDAA and how that's scary that we would have such a loss. And the commissioners wrote an incredible letter affirming the Constitution and just showing real patriotism. So we're so grateful. We're so grateful to Commissioner Matt and of course Osterberg, and of course to Commissioner Rich Caridi.
Pike County Commissioner.
Pike County Commissioner, of course. And, we're so, of course, honored and happy to have him this morning. Sorry, it's a little early,
It's a little early, but it's beautiful to be here on the top of the mountain overlooking our beautiful county and over the majestic Delaware River.
Can you get a view?
Could be a little clearer today, but I have a vision of what it looks like. I've been here many times, so
it is beautiful.
Living here as long as I have, I love being up on top of the mountains like this.
It is beautiful, it is. Now, Commissioner Osterberg, of course, is married to Carol for 33 years, has 2 children, granddaughter, and also has been involved in so much incredible work. He is, of course, a St. Patrick's Church fundraising chairman since 2006, Minisink Valley Historical Society director since 2001, Pike County Republican Committee current member, Milford Enhancement Committee up to 2011, Historical Preservation Trust of Pike County, 1996 through 2011, CDD Dinner Committee, Port Jervis Elks Lodge, number 645, Knights of Columbus Council, wow. 13935, Pike County Historical Society Director, 2011 through 16, President of Pike United Way, 2011 to the present, Milford Community House President, 2011 through the present, Pike County Chamber of Commerce Director, 2011 through the present, I believe, and Pike EDA Chairman 2012 to the present. Also other accomplishments, books published for Images of America, Matamoros to Shohola, A Journey Through Time. He really does love the local areas and of course the parks, right?
I do, I love the
Really,
entire region.
beautiful
Yeah,
parks.
and I love celebrating the history of where we live, and there's so much for us to be thankful for in Pike County.
Oh my gosh.
Never mind in the country, but I focus my attention from my history major from Penn State on the local history, and I really enjoy it.
Oh man, I mean, some of those waterfalls are absolutely incredible. And I didn't know that Pike was named after a general who was, I guess, under the auspices of Thomas Jefferson.
Correct.
Isn't that
Zebulon Pike. Pike's Peak.
There it is.
Yeah.
Interesting name, Zebulon.
Yeah.
Zebulon Pike. I didn't know that.
Well, this is the same Pike as Pike's Peak?
It is the same.
That's
yeah.
the Pike
He
County.
never visited Pike County, though. But
Oh, he never visited? Is that true?
No, he was from New Jersey, where he was born. But
Yeah.
it was because there was such a love for him in that time of era, and I believe around that time of 1814 is when he died. He died very
Wow.
young. But so people, name things after people in memory of them and in respect to what they have done for our country. And he was that type of guy. He was young. I think he was only in his 30s when he passed away.
Wow, I was interested to see that he was connected to Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah.
At least in some, tangential way. That was quite exciting. Also, books published for Port Jervis, Delaware and Hudson Canal and the Gravity Railroad, Dingman's Ferry, Port Jervis, then and now. Also, I didn't know this about Commissioner Osterberg, but he worked at Lure's Ace Home Center.
I did for 35 years.
35 years.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So you could have just been going picking up some tools and you would have met Commissioner Osterberg, all right? You didn't know he was at the time.
Right.
But he
And
would have helped you.
I wasn't. I was working at the hardware store and enjoying my life in town.
He'd helped you pick out paint or pick out some hardware tools. I mean, that is beautiful. That's so beautiful. Daily schedule for employees, allocating time properly to meet customer expectations, provide quality customer service, payroll management, sales training, and of course, Milford, your council president. Some of his accomplishments through 2011, acquired a $3 million grant for water supply upgrade. I am proud. Pike County is one of the counties, according to the statistics, that doesn't put like the fluoride and the chemicals in the water.
No.
So that's great. I mean, that's really helping the health of of the inhabitants of Pike County. Acquired grant for municipal parking lot, consolidated Matamoros Milford Sanitation Department, collaborated on the formation of the Milford Enhancement Committee, collaborated on the updating of the Milford Borough zoning ordinance, and of course, Pike County Commissioner, Vice Chairman 2012 through 16, and Chairman 2016 through the present. Congratulations on the chair. So, can you share a little bit about your history? You mentioned during the break that you actually were born in Staten Island, New York. So you're actually a New Yorker?
I was born in Staten Island, New York, as were my parents.
So we're both New Yorkers.
Yes.
We'll move to PA.
And my dad, being from the greatest generation, in the 60s, decided that he should build a summer house in Pike County. So at Twin Lakes, my dad in 1965 built a summer house. And every summer from 66 until 74, my mother would bring me and my brothers and sisters up here for the summer from Memorial Day until Labor Day. And then in 1974, my mother and myself, and I have a younger brother, moved here permanently. And I knew this was where I was going to want to live for the rest of my life.
Now, did you fall in love with it? You guys, so you're coming up on kind of your breaks with your parents, and then you just fell in love with it. It's just so beautiful.
I did. I fell in love with this area. I'm not sure my brothers and sisters truly did, but I did, and I stayed here. They didn't. They moved to other locations. But, we each have our choice to do that, But I knew from that time that I went to Delaware Valley High School, graduated in 76, and knew that I would never leave here.
Wow.
Went to Penn State University, and then started working at Lures Hardware.
Wow, isn't that amazing? So right out of college, you went straight to Lures.
Actually, right out of high school, I went right to
out of high
Lures.
school. Wow.
Yeah, I would go back and forth from college to work. I just had to I had to work to raise my own funds to go to college.
You're a busy student?
Yeah, I couldn't do both. I tried to do both. I couldn't. It was either work or school. When you're 20 years old, there's things that are just different on your mind, right?
Wow, that's great.
So in 1983, I graduated, and then I came back here, and then my wife, Carol, is from Matamoros. Born and raised in Matamoros. Our parents are born and raised in Port Jervis. So, I had this connection then to the history here. So it was a great mix. I mean, I love my wife a lot, and, we have a great marriage with two children now.
Oh, you guys are beautiful. You're a beautiful couple.
Yeah. So we have, to me, I live my dream life.
Praise God, man. God is
Yeah,
good.
Absolutely, he is. I've only lived a mile and a half from wherever I worked.
It's
I never
amazing.
commuted. I never had a long
Isn't it good?
commute. I could ride my bike to work every single day and come home for lunch every single day.
How healthy is that?
Yeah. And go to every single one of my son's baseball games and my
Oh my
daughter's
gosh.
plays. It was
Wow.
never a matter where, work got in the way. Working for
Wow.
a small family is important
Oh, absolutely.
because they understand family, and family is what this is all about. And this community is, and that's what I look at my role as Pike County Commissioner as.
Well, you guys
making
have been
sure
doing a
families are
phenomenal
stronger.
job bringing in new business into the area. Of course, we're so grateful with CAR and everything, and just bringing tons of new business, new residents. We have all sorts of people moving in.
We do.
You know?
It may be a little slower now than it was in the last number of years, but the thing I look at is, it's nice to be bringing new people in here.
Yeah.
And it's just as important, or more important, that we take care of the residents we have here.
Yes, yes.
I always wish that I could, like my children don't live here because unfortunately there is not a lot of opportunity here. So that's where the
Yeah.
jobs come in. I want somebody to be able to live in this community and not have to worry about commuting for an hour and a half because it
That's
just
such a
destroys
pain, isn't it?
families.
That's so true.
It puts, I don't know if destroys is the right word, but it puts a lot of pressure on them.
It really does,
Undue pressure.
Yeah, and if you have that extra 3 hours that you could have had other than commuting, you can spend that with your kids. You can go see a movie, you have dinner, you know what I mean? And you have that connecting time.
You do. And now that think about the volunteerism. Think about,
Yeah,
we have people
yeah.
we have our ambulance services and our fire companies and our churches and our United Ways of the world and everything that's looking to help those that have much less than we do. But when you have people commuting for 3 hours, how much time do they have when they come back home? They're tired. That's what I normally say. They're just tired. And then they want to spend time with their family. So
But then
all of this
it's just
stuff
easier
is
to turn on the TV.
That too, that too. Yeah.
But it's
So-
like it's so critical because it almost seems like the city grids and like everybody having to move to cities and all the small businesses going on because you have the big monopolies and the big businesses, et cetera. Now, nothing with big business, but a lot of these businesses are like have these special deals and everything with the larger feds or whatever, and you have like these protections over that are over the big businesses, but then it's putting out the small businesses. and then you don't have the local economy, and then now they're using AI technology to replace the workers at McDonald's. You see, even in locally, like McDonald's or like at Walmart.
Correct.
I try to not use those lines and try to go to the person where the person is there, because then your dollars are speaking, and saying, hey, we really appreciate this person.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like that local economy is so critical, because we don't want our kids to be commuting 5-6 hours or having to move away, to a different city to find employment or something, stuff like that.
That's correct. It ends up splitting up families.
Yeah.
How important it is that young kids live around their grandparents.
Oh, my
all
goodness.
Of that stuff that's so important.
That's how it used to be.
Yeah, that's how it was with me. My grandmother lived a mile away from me in Staten Island. I went to have lunch with her every Wednesday. And I was lucky enough to be able to be here when my children went most weekends. And my mother-in-law is still living in Matamoros for 65 years, and
Wow.
my son was just home. He went and visited his grandmother. He went and had meatballs. She's an Italian, so she loves to cook.
Hey!
So he went there.
You
and
don't
had-
have to be Italian to love the meatball,
Yeah, I know,
man.
but you do have to if you really want to cook them.
I know, too. You need the Italian grandma. Hey, no, baby.
Yeah. There's a special knack to making those
Yeah,
meatballs.
that's right. You got to get those special
But that
meatballs.
stuff is important, and my son, he's 28 years old and he's an attorney, but, he made a point of coming home to visit us, but then
beautiful.
at the same time, made a point in spending an hour or 2 hours with his grandmother, who's, 92 years old and just loves to have her grandson come home and sit there and eat a couple of meatballs with her, But that's what family is, right?
Oh,
That's-
man, I mean, how
those are
important that
memories.
is for the fabric of society.
Yeah.
I mean, when families are fraying and they're separated and they're like, in different parts of the country, it's like, you used to have the family farms, you grew up with your dad on the farm or, whatever, and it just passed down over time, and you had the family business, you had the family, or the Italian restaurant, that was passed down over time.
Right.
I love the local, what is that, the Caninis down in Milford, the brothers that are operating Caninis up in
Carinis.
Yeah, Carinis.
Yes.
They're wonderful, man. They make the best pasta,
They
the
do.
best, like, we go on our dates there all the time. Because, like, those guys are not only local, but they learn from their parents, and from their grandparents. And it's just like, it's so authentic. It's so beautiful to see that,
It is.
But it's like so many American businesses, under Obama, et cetera, were just collapsing. The economy was dying. We were being deindustrialized. And, like, people weren't finding any way to get on track,
Right.
And so now let me just get your breakdown on President Trump. How exciting it is to have a president that is doing like what he actually promised during the campaign trail.
Well, and that'll lead me into my little segue here. Finally, what we see last week is we see a president who has finally stepped up and said that this opioid issue is an epidemic. It's a health crisis.
Yeah.
How long do we have to wait for that to occur?
Wow.
I know it's early on as to what his plans are, but at least someone is recognizing this and going to say we need to attack this on all fronts. Because, even in a small county like Pike, just last week we had 3 overdose deaths.
Wow.
Right. This is just ravaging families. When you get back to families, what this is doing to our society for the almighty dollar. And
Yeah,
that's just where
yeah.
I look at this. This is all about money. And it's hard to get people to react to it because I think maybe in urban areas, they can't really put a face to it. They hear about the
Right,
overdose
right.
deaths, but whose child is that? Whose brother is that? Whose son is that? But when you're in a small county like Pike, and living here as long as I have, I know those family members. I see those
Right, right.
moms and dads, and I see them grieving, and now trying to make a difference on how they can at least keep their child's memory alive by at least trying to stop this from occurring to others. It's
terrible. It's very
it is
tragic.
terrible. So when you look at Washington, they seem like they're constantly in turmoil, and I
Yeah.
think they probably are.
Yeah.
But at least in this one instance, maybe they can all come together and stand up and
Hey,
say,
it'd be nice if the Dems and they can actually
Yeah.
come together.
all of them, the Ds, the Rs, the Cs, the S's, I don't care what party they are,
Right.
but as long as,
Right.
because this opiate epidemic it's not facing one political party, it's facing every one of us, it's destroying us.
And how addictive are any one of these drugs? I mean, we know that even the British were using that, on the Chinese, right, the opium wars. It's
Yeah.
so addictive when people get on it, it's like they can't stop.
Right.
And what's sad is that then the gangbangers who are running the drugs, they get super rich.
Right.
So this is, of course, a problem. Now, of course, there's different theories on this. Like, for example, Portugal decriminalized the use of narcotics, and they basically regulate it like tobacco. And what they found is they don't have an increase rate of drug addiction, and actually the drug-related crime got collapsed. So there's different theories on it, obviously. But of course, there is this, we had Dr. Burgess, he's a naturopathic doctor, just on last week, and he was saying there's this natural medicine called, what is it called? Ibogaine? It's ibogaine. It's from the iboga tree bark in Africa. And he's used this to treat patients who can literally go like on a week, get this treatment for like a week and come back and they're off of it. So there's a lot of, obviously there's a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I never heard of ibogaine. I was like, what?
never did
Ibogaine
either.
from iboga tree in, in Africa. But hey, we know that God makes all these medicinal, like aspirin is from willow bark and all this stuff. Just, God's goodness, He provides, So there's obviously many people trying to help people who are addicted. And of course, once you're addicted, I think like your life, you can't get off, right?
Well, you're always in recovery.
You're always in recovery,
You're
and it's
always in
so hard.
recovery,
Your
and isn't that
withdrawals
horrible?
and
Right, isn't that horrible?
It's
that we're always in
devastating,
recovery,
absolutely
you know?
devastating.
And we just keep on adding to it, for them to make these claims that opioids are not addictive
Oh
back
my
in the
gosh,
90s,
come on.
and we can control the addictiveness. I mean, they knew this back 100 years ago or more.
They did.
Right? How horribly addictive this stuff was, but that they could treat pain with this, And I don't think anybody's saying that we don't want people that are in palliative care and, dying of
Sure.
cancer or have major surgeries, that they shouldn't be treated with this. But if you go in and get a wisdom tooth pulled, I don't think you should go home with 30 oxycodones. I think you should go home with an aspirin, or if your knee hurts, maybe you should go home with an ace bandage, as my mother would put on my leg,
Yeah.
and say, you're not going to die of pain.
exactly right.
Suck it up and work through it, But we've decided, or we've made society believe that we can treat pain at any level. And it's just not right because
It's not with these addictions. I mean, this is like so
Yeah.
chemically. It takes control of your whole central nervous system, and it makes you become a different person.
You do, and it's you can't compare it to many other things that are going on in our society,
It's not like eating a burger or something.
Right. People can get addicted to a lot of things, but I don't think it has the impact that this has on society, Smoking cigarettes definitely is not a good, healthy habit
It's
to
not,
have.
it's not.
But at the same token, it doesn't have such an effect on society as, being addicted to oxycodone does,
Is-
Reading
yeah.
a lot about fentanyl,
Yeah.
and how even first responders can be accidentally overdose.
Yeah.
Through just by touching someone who has a fentanyl on their clothing or.
Oh, I
or
heard about that. Yeah, you reported about it the other day.
And carfentanil and all of these, little grains the size of salt that are, that can actually be deadly,
And they're putting it inside the opioids, right? In the heroin and all that stuff.
They are.
That's nuts. It's like totally crazy.
Right. And that brings in the whole thing with Narcan, there's this whole belief out there that Narcan has acted as a crutch.
Now hold on. For the lay person, what is the Narcan?
Narcan is the antidote for overdosing on heroin. So if you're overdosing on heroin, you can get spray Narcan up your nostrils, and it's an inhaler, and it brings you right back around. It saves their life. And there's, you go online and look at these. It's like miraculous. They call it like the
So it
Lazarus.
does work?
It does work. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's,
But temporary, or is it because the people get back on again?
well, what it's doing is, at least at that moment, is saving their life, and
I
hopefully
see,
we
I
can
see.
get them into recovery
Okay.
so that this doesn't happen again. But, we need to have this stuff. What are we going to do? We're going to sit around and just watch our young people and whoever die when we have this ability to bring them back and hopefully get them into recovery. That's what we're looking to do. If they die, we're not getting them into recovery.
Yeah, and then, of course, that's what you guys were talking about also with the faith-based initiatives, and have the churches too, try to, because we see even with Alcoholics Anonymous,
Right.
it's like, we can do it with certain therapies or whatever, but in the end, it's got to be a real commitment. And a lot of studies found that the programs that work is where the people commit themselves to faith.
They do.
How important
12-step
is that?
programs work.
Yeah.
There's a number of other ones out there that maybe aren't faith-based, but whatever, I look at it, whatever it takes, whatever it is
works,
that you
yeah.
find that saves your life and saves your family, it's a commitment for life, when you get into these recovery programs, because it's no different than alcoholism or anything. You always have that temptation to maybe take that next drink. When you smoke cigarettes, you may always have that temptation to smoke that next cigarette, but you just have to build the strength, and you build the strength either through these organizations or through yourself,
Right, then more
or through
fortitude.
horrible things that happen in your life,
Yeah.
What would you
Cause
like
and
to see
effect.
from Washington or from Harrisburg?
I think we need to hold the pharmaceuticals responsible. I just read an article
Yeah.
again last night where you see that there's companies out there like Purdue Pharma who have made billions of dollars, and their family is sitting on $13 billion in assets. And they're the ones who back in 1996 made a claim that this stuff will not be addictive. I mean, and the FDA believed them. How can you believe that this product, which was developed, I believe oxycodone and Oxycontin was developed by the Germans in like 1912 to satisfy the needs of the injured on the battlefield in World War I. But even they knew that this was just a fix for that time, not something, because then you go from 1912 to 1996. How many in this room ever heard of oxycodone?
I
When
never
you were
heard
younger,
of it.
did you ever hear of it? I'll tell you the thing I heard of it first. In 1999, my best friend comes home here for Thanksgiving and spends a weekend with me. And we're 40 years old. And he goes back home, he lives in South Carolina. A week later, his wife calls me, tells me George is dead on the couch.
Oh my goodness, it's
I was
terrible.
like, what happened? He said, he overdosed on oxycodone. I had no clue what she was even talking about. And she said, well, oxycodone is like a derivative of heroin. I said, this stuff is legal? She says, oh yeah. He was taking it because he had a really bad back injury, which I knew he had, and he got addicted to it.
That's incredible.
Right, so this is the first time I ever hear of this, but prior to that, I never knew what that stuff was. I don't think anybody, like I say, I don't think any of us in this room, we're all near the
Never
same
heard
age.
of it.
When
Like,
we were
are they
younger-
giving that as an antidote to heroin addiction? That
No,
would be-
no,
Okay,
they
so it's
back-
they're
like a
giving her
painkiller.
back injury,
To a
right?
back pain.
So it's a
Back
back,
pain.
it's a total
Right,
back
you know,
injury,
so-
back pain relief.
So
Wow.
prior to 1996, what were we taking
Wow.
for back injury? We weren't taking oxycodone, but they had something because people were surviving and living through all of this stuff.
Wow.
So what do I think they need to do in Washington? I think they need to sit down, as they did with the tobacco industry, and hold them responsible. Maybe not completely. People have a responsibility in their life also. We all make choices, and our choices are, sometimes risky behavior brings risky results, right? And sometimes
right.
you need to be held
But we
responsible.
have- yeah,
but at
that's
the
right.
same token, if I keep on going on TV or someplace and telling you to take this and take this,
Yeah.
or, smoking cigarettes is good for you, right? And there was a
Oh,
time where
come
they told you that, right? And I was a smoker, so, I fell into that, and maybe just from habit from my parents or whatever, right? But they were held responsible.
Yeah.
And look at the difference that has happened now through education programs with cigarette smoking. Barely anyone smokes anymore.
They know it's a real health risk.
Right. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, if we were sitting in this room, I guarantee one of us would be smoking a cigarette. And the other ones wouldn't even think twice about it, right?
Right, yeah.
We wouldn't even think
Secondhand
about it.
smoke, yeah.
Yeah, we wouldn't even think anything about it. You'd have a fan on
yeah.
and say, hey, maybe you should put that out. It's burning my eyes. But, so maybe we need to have I believe that we need to have the pharmaceutical companies step up and help us
Wow.
through recovery, through education. There's prevention, recovery, or treatment and recovery. Getting prevention is building schools and getting programs in schools to help parents through these times that are going to affect their children moving up slowly. We run a program right now that we were able to institute in the schools called Strengthening Families, which isn't just about addiction. It's about everything. It's about just what it says, strengthening families. It's for all families. It's just making us stronger. And what it does is it teaches people about risky behavior. It teaches people to be aware.
Empower kids, yeah.
Yeah, it empowers you. Just know, what's going to be coming up.
And consequences.
Yeah,
There's
right.
consequences when you
Absolutely.
do risky stuff.
That's right. Yeah, there's
Oh my
consequences.
goodness.
So we help the school districts develop this, through Penn State University, through
Hmm.
Iowa State University, because there's a lot of programs out there that are evidence-based that can help families, and it builds character, it builds neighbors. It's what we found is 15 families sit in a room. This is an after-school program. It's not just the children. It's mom and dad and the children, and they all sit and they go through different lessons and different scenarios of what they may face as they move forward into 7th and 8th grade. We're all in 7th and 8th grade. We know the pressures that can happen when you're in school,
Oh,
peer
man,
pressure,
definitely.
and it's even more, it's harder now. I mean, you think about the pressure of this phone.
The cell phone,
Right?
yeah, yeah,
Everything,
right.
everything's at
The
your
living
thumbs,
machine.
Right, yeah. So we're looking to do that because it's important that we build this community up, that we strengthen everything that's here.
Well, you made such an important point about the whole pharmaceutical issue because we're talking with Dr. Burgess about that. He's a medical doctor, has various medical degrees, but he's been treating patients, et cetera, for many years. But he was saying that's a problem. Like one of the biggest treatments that they're giving for heroin addiction is an actual derivative of opium. So it's like, what? It's like, hello, and then the pharmaceuticals making billions off of this, literally billions.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely crazy. And then, of course, you have a situation where the gangbangers are getting they're wealthy. You have Dr. Williams wrote about even how the CIA is the U.S. the federal government in Afghanistan. We're like producing 97% of the population, so that's a problem too.
Sure.
So we have a serious problem, like systemic problem. And did you see the JFK files that are coming out?
Yeah.
Wow, the Surgeon General in the files, the Surgeon General, his report, Kennedy was shot in the throat and in the head. So that goes against the Warren Council report, which was he was shot in the back. So now it's just like it's unraveling.
Right.
You know, the American people have been lied to by Washington for the last 3 years now?
Yeah.
And they just kept it under wraps.
Yep.
Like how important is it to have real patriots locally on the ground, like yourself, like Caridi, like Rich, that are signing up for the people?
Yeah.
I mean, this is like absolutely critical. We'll be right back, folks, with more with our commissioner, Matt Osterberg. Stay with us.
I'm down here at the range today. I just learned a new technique from the father of the .44 Magnum, Elmer Keith, which is called shooting out of the notch, which allows you to make really long distance shots and still have an extremely precise sight picture. So I brought my CW9 car down, and with this little gun, we're gonna shoot this little munchkin at 200 yards up in the hills, applying this technique, and hopefully we'll make the shot. To apply this technique, instead of using the blade of the front sight lined up with the top of the rear sight, I'm going to take the dot of the front sight and raise it up so that it's out of the notch, but I'm still going to keep the front sight on my target. Bringing that front sight up like that is going to compensate for the bullet drop over that excessively long distance with just this little gun. So if applied right, we should be making contact. Let's see how it goes. I saw this shot, so I'm a little bit out of breath because you gotta run to make sure that is what I thought it was, and it was. So while making this shot, from that distance with these white dot sights, it literally would cover the entire target. You couldn't see what you were shooting. So using the Elmer Keith technique, you were able to raise it out of the back notch, I can't breathe, out of the back notch, allowing you to keep your accuracy, aim, and also still see the target, which is key because it was a hard shot, not gonna lie. But yeah, it went great, and Elmer knows what he's talking about. And for such a small gun to be able to take that hit, I'm very impressed with this. All right, guys, be sure to like and share, and I'll see you out on the range.
That was awesome. Hey, can I try that one? Yeah, let's see with the 380.
Does everybody have eyes and ears?
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today.
And welcome back to the King's Report. This Monday, October 30th, we are here with Commissioner Matt Osterberg and talking about during the break the reality of how deadly and devastating, oxycodone and of course the opioids for society, but also on the person, devastating. And many times you have to take one medicine on top of another medicine. And you were talking about Narcan. Tell us a little about Narcan.
Well, Narcan is the product and the drug that they have out there to counteract an overdose. So if ambulance personnel or even family members can get to somebody who's overdosing on opioids or heroin, this is a simple aerosol that goes up your nostrils. Which basically brings you back to life. I mean, there's proven facts. It's it's been used all over. There's thousands of saves by EMS personnel and by family members. Some people call it a crutch for opiate addiction, but at least we're saving their life at that moment and hopefully get them into recovery. Isn't that what this is about? It's trying to save people's lives. I hear people use the word crutch, and it angers me to think that there is people out there that say, the police department shouldn't carry it because, it's just making people want to overdose because they know we're going to come and save them. I don't. There's no proven points to that at all. You'll see that there's words out there. They call them Narcan parties. That people that are addicted to heroin are buying heroin and also buying Narcan. And if their buddy overdoses on Narcan, on opium, they will give them the Narcan. Well, again, Pennsylvania State Police. There's articles out there. Pennsylvania State Police have no proven factual evidence that has ever occurred. And when you think about somebody that's in the throes of addiction of heroin.
Oh, man.
They're out there looking for heroin. They're not out there looking for Narcan. They're not taking $150 and going to go buy some Narcan. They're going to go buy some heroin. These are like these urban myths that really need to be dispelled because it's not. It's killing our children. When you hear the police department,
is a prescription or
what it is it's an over-the-counter, but it has a standing order prescription at the drugstores. So what that means is that the physician general in the case of Pennsylvania, has put out a standing order. Any one of us can go into a drugstore and we can go to the pharmacist and we can say we want a prescription of Narcan or naloxone is the same product. And they will give it to us, but they give it to us as a prescription. So you register yourself like you're getting any other prescription that you get. And that also brings up some stigma because in a small town like Milford or a small county like Pike, I have to go into the drugstore, announce across the counter that I want naloxone, so that my neighbors can hear this. And there's already enough stigma with heroin.
Get into everybody's business, right?
But here's what I'm recently found out and researched about that. You stand the chance of when you get a prescription of Narcan that you can lose your life insurance.
Yeah, you were just mentioning that.
And if you go online and type that in, you will see that there is factual evidence out there that says that can happen. And I've heard this from somebody I know who this happened to them in North New Hampshire. So these are the things Washington needs to change. That's not up to us. They need to make it so that Narcan is truly over the counter. It's non-addictive. It doesn't hurt anyone if you take it incorrectly. If you give it to somebody who's not overdosing on heroin, it's not like you're going to harm them. You're not. So why not make it so that I could walk into the drugstore and pick it up off the shelf like I do a bottle of aspirin? Why do I have to announce to the world that this is what I need? It's
With that huge stigma. Ooh, one of his children are, that's just all
exactly. And
craziness.
when that's what the first thing we think of is that somebody in their family, a child or somebody, is addicted to heroin or has an opiate issue. But there's enough prescriptions out there of opioids to senior citizens for needed pain relief, and maybe as a child who's taking care of a senior parent, you want to have this product in your house in case your mom or your dad overdoses on it, and it can happen. But if you do that, you stand the chance of losing you're trying to help your parent or your loved one or
grandpa or
whoever it
something,
is,
right.
and you stand the chance of losing your life insurance. I talked to one parent who says, I don't tell my son that I have Narcan in the house because I don't want him to know that there's a product here that possibly could save his life. I'm trying to keep him so that he understands we need to stay away from this opioids. So, there's a lot of stigmas with this, but again, where's the government? Why aren't they making this easier for us? Mm-hmm. It's not effect on anybody, but we want to keep this hidden in the closet, we make it so difficult for people to dispose of pharmaceuticals, right? We have drug drop-off boxes. Just this past Saturday was National Drug Drop-Off Box Day. That means that people can take all the pharmaceuticals that are in their house and dispose of them correctly without flushing them down the toilet, without throwing them in a landfill, right?
Oh, man.
So we have, but we also getting them, like particularly the opioids, out of people's medicine cabinets so they don't get diverted into the wrong hands. But why shouldn't it be that there's a drug drop-off box in every single pharmacy in this country? Right?
Interesting.
I've been fighting for this for
interesting.
6 years. In Pike County, we had, up to last year, we had 2 drug drop-off boxes. One in the Sheriff's Department, one in the Eastern Regional Police Department in Matamoros. Great locations, have nothing bad to say about that. But talk about places that are intimidating and inconvenient.
Yeah.
Most people don't want to be seen going into a police station for obvious reasons again, It's a small town, why are you going to the police station? But also inconvenient. How many of us go into a police station? How many of us go into a drugstore?
All the time.
All the time, right? So we were able to, after a year of negotiations with the DEA, we were able to get a drug drop-off box in a local pharmacy in Lords Valley. The pharmacist up there was more than willing to do it, but he's a small store operator. He's a small town store, just as you said earlier about how important small businesses are. Here's a man who stepped up, Dennis Doherty, stepped up and said, you know what, I will do this for the community. Now, we, the county, and the DA's office have to go pick up the pharmaceuticals and dispose of them because there's a cost to it. But when you look at these big conglomerate drugstores like Rite Aid, CVS, and all the money should not be an issue with this because they could put these boxes in. Their argument to this is this: if I put a drug drop-off box in my pharmacy, somebody's going to break in and steal the box. Well, if I'm going to break into a drugstore, I'm not stealing a box that may be like the booby prize. I'm going behind the counter.
That's their argument? 'Cause I was gonna ask you about that.
That is their argument.
That's outrageous.
The latest argument is that it must be in a 24-hour facility. That's not true.
I mean, banks have drop-off boxes,
Bolt them to the wall. Absolutely.
I mean, come on.
ATM machines. So why I'm on here, I'll tell you. The public needs to demand from the CVS's and the Rite Aids. They need to put them in and they need to pay for them. Don't depend on us. You're making money on this. We are in this world are more concerned what we do with a plastic bottle and newspaper and cardboard than what we do with pharmaceuticals.
Or opioids, right?
Right, all of them. Because,
my gosh.
this is an environmental issue. We're flushing this stuff. We're disposing of it.
Oxycodone, that's an opioid.
Yeah, that's opioids. But any pharmaceuticals, whether it's aspirins, antibiotics, how many times do you read that there's a ton of antibiotics in our drinking water? Why is it in there?
Yeah,
well, part of
I
it
heard
is
about that.
because we absorb it in our body and we discharge it. We understand you're not going to control that. But why shouldn't we be able to make sure that when people have unused and unwanted pharmaceuticals, they put them in a Ziploc bag, throw them in the box when they go to the pharmacist. It's a simple concept, but I'm to the point with Washington and Harrisburg where if it's practical, it's impossible. And they should put that on their hats because it just makes no sense anymore. To all of these government agencies, they find more reasons to say no than to say yes. And there's a million reasons to say no and normally one good reason to say yes. But you talk to them, I don't care whether it's the congressman, whether it's anybody in Washington. They look at you and they just put up a roadblock and say, Now, we can't do that. You need a 24-hour facility. Well, no, that's not true. Well, they're going to steal the box. Well, I really don't think that that's the case. I can bolt it to the floor and make it more
Oh, they're going to
difficult.
steal the box.
Yeah, I'm going to steal the
Oh, my
box. You know,
gosh.
that could be filled with, I don't know, aspirin or nothing. It could be empty,
Exactly.
right?
You feel
Yeah.
sugar pills. Well,
Yeah,
you know.
right. You know, it's just very frustrating.
So some permits are required to establish for a pharmacy to have a box like this available?
Well, for a
So
pharmacist to
DEA?
put in a box right now, it's privately. It's a little more difficult when we get involved with having law enforcement come in to pick up the drugs as we do right now in the one in Lords Valley. But if a Rite Aid in Pike County wants to put in a drug drop-off box, here's how simple it is. They contact the DEA and they get what they call a reverse license. Drugstores have licenses to dispense opioids. They have to by law, right? Which makes sense. We have to know who's dispensing this stuff. But they also need a license to receive it back. So they need to have one that allows them to have a disposal unit in their facility. And that's how simple it is. They then contact the corporation. You know, I'm sure a lot of people are aware of a company that's called Sharps. You see these in doctors' offices where people take old, like if you're diabetes, you have syringes and you need to dispose of them. There's a box that you put
Yeah,
these
yeah,
in.
yeah.
Okay,
Right,
that
right.
company also has what they call MedSafe. MedSafe, a pharmacy can call up MedSafe, order the box, get the license, install the box, and there's a whole procedure of getting rid of them. And it costs a few $1,000s a year to get rid of, I believe, 183 pounds of pharmaceuticals, anything, right? Once the box is filled, you seal the box up, you give it to the UPS man, it has a sealed number on it from the DEA. This is all DEA approved, by the way. And it gets shipped to a facility in Texas and it's disposed of. And the pharmacy pays for the disposal of this, you know? When you go into Home Depot, you're allowed to drop off batteries, right? Who's paying to get rid of the batteries? Home Depot is. They're doing a responsible corporate thing. I work for an Ace Hardware store. We used to have it where people could drop off old batteries, old cell phones. And that wasn't we didn't have to do this, but we felt to be a leader in the community and doing this, right? Well, Rite Aid, Walgreens, and CVS, I'm calling them all out. Do the right thing and step up to the plate and stop finding excuses as to why you shouldn't do this. Back to just this past Saturday was National Drug Drop-Off Day. Every day should be National Drug Drop-Off Day.
That's really interesting because, like, you have the situation where they could do it very easy, quite simply. I mean, just getting that reverse license and just installing a box or even that little plastic thing that they get from the DEA. It's not like it's a huge impediment to their business
No,
activity.
it looks like a mailbox.
It looks like a mailbox.
And every
it's like
Rite
installing
Aid-
a mailbox.
And most times when you go into a Rite Aid, the pharmacist is behind a glass enclosure.
Window, yeah, right.
Right? He's fully protected for good reasons, right?
Right.
So at night when they close, don't they pull down steel shades that close up their whole pharmacy?
They do.
They do, right? So put a hole in the wall there with a little mail slot that opens on a hinge. The box is behind them with there, and you bolt it to the wall. Me and you walk into the pharmacist, go up, open up the slot, drop it in, push it in like we're mailing a letter, and it falls into a box. How much easier could I make it for these people, but they still resist it?
Well, it's interesting because what's the cost effect of that? If you don't do that, or if you don't have a place where people can dispose of this properly, then it gets into the water supply. If you flush it right, it gets into the water supply.
It gets into the wrong hands.
It gets in the wrong hands.
It lays in people's medicine cabinets until until they plan a National Drug Drop-Off Day.
A kid could just be playing around and he pop, 10 pills.
You know, there's discussions where people that are addicted to opioids have made plans to go to a real estate office, and I've heard this from many people, and they'll say, I want to go and look at certain houses. And they've already scoped out the
Oh, are you
houses,
kidding me?
knowing that senior citizens live in the houses, people that
Oh,
would
my
be
gosh.
most prone to have these type of opioids in their house. Now you go in, the realtor shows them the house, and
No.
one last thing they say is, hey, listen, can I just use the
Bathroom?
restroom for a
Oh,
moment?
my gosh.
And they go into the restroom and they go through the medicine cabinet. Now, maybe they find something, maybe they don't. But my point is, why don't we make this so much easier for people to just get rid of this stuff if they don't need it? I mean, if it's going to be in there because they need it, you're not going to really stop it. But if it becomes, old, like you go to the dentist and maybe you got some oxycodones and, 2 weeks after your procedure on your wisdom teeth, you have them to get rid of. Well, the next time you go to the drugstore, you can get into a habit of getting rid of them. Like we get into the habit of telling people, take your aluminum cans to the recycling center. Take your
Right, it's like
plastic-
that's what
we
I
are,
think. It's like
we
kind
are
of
more
like-
concerned about those plastic bottles than we are about these pills. I'm sorry, that's really what it's come down to. The environment is so important, but yet we make very little effort to do this because of all these crazy reasons, you know?
Well, in the end, these pills do harm the environment because they're getting back into the water, into the land. You know, if you just throw them out, or obviously there's costs to people that are taking them, kids getting addicted to this stuff. Oh my goodness! Talk about the cost benefit analysis there. My goodness.
Yeah, it just seems so. It seems like I said, it's just too practical, I guess. If it's practical,
It's too practical,
impossible.
and it makes too much sense.
That's right.
For it to actually become,
Yeah.
a standard procedure.
So, my point with this is, why do I don't have to wait for the government to do this? CVS can do this on their own. They just
Right.
need the license. So we as the customers need to shame them into it.
Well, how easy is it? Because you're right. You mentioned the fact that the CVS is the right. They're these big conglomerates, or nationwide conglomerates, or I guess international.
Sure.
I think I've seen CVS in other countries too, right? They're international. But but how important is it to have local pharmacies?
But, there's another way to do this, and CVS and them have enough money to be able to pay
They have
for this, right?
money to just
But
put
there's
a
another
box
way
in.
to do it. Being in the retail business, there's a thing out there that's called co-op advertising. In fact, I'm sure CarArm does this, where they have vendors and they have people that sell their product, and they'll say, hey, listen, if you run a newspaper ad, we'll pay you 50% of the ad, to promote our products, right? That's called co-op advertising.
Right.
So when you think of all of the pharmaceutical industry out there and all of the drug companies, we're not just talking about opioids, we're talking about Bayer aspirin, we're talking about all of these companies, Johnson & Johnson. You get each one of them to take some of their advertising dollars and put it towards the expense of getting rid of these drugs and putting this box in there.
It'd be
We're
done like
talking nothing.
Yeah, we're
Zero
talking
money.
absolute zero.
So that would help the smaller mom and pop pharmacies, right? There's ways around to do this. Like I say, there's ways to do it if you want to do it. But there's also, like I say, you can find a million reasons to say no,
It's not even like it would devastate their business model.
No.
It would not even
It
be
would help them.
a glitch.
Think about the public relations they get out of this.
Oh, they would
This is what
be
I've tried to
happy.
explain to them. If they could use this as a PR program. When CVS stopped selling cigarettes, right? They used it as a big.
You should be their PR manager.
Yeah, well, I've called them.
Because
all
you'll
of them.
make them $1 billion.
I barely get past the secretary.
You know what I mean? Because we'll feel better about going to a place which is actually taking care of the health and of the city,
Absolutely.
the borough, whatever.
Right. Remember,
You know?
Rite Aid is a Pennsylvania corporation.
Oh, is it? It's a
It
right-
is, yeah. So shouldn't they be
Interesting.
doing the right thing for the people of Pennsylvania? We've done the right
That's
thing by
right.
them.
Their name is Rite Aid. Come on, and do
Yeah.
some Rite Aid.
Yeah. So tell everybody to shame them into it. Next time you're in Rite Aid, tell a poor pharmacist who, and I'm not looking for you to go after because he has nothing to do
'Cause
with
he has
this.
nothing to do with the
No,
policy.
He's just workers, he's just a guy getting a paycheck after every week. But, corporate needs to be told. Step
Corporate
up to the
needs to
plate.
be told. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting solution. That's a real solution to help people get those out of their houses.
So we
don't-
understand the numbers. And I just heard the Attorney General of Pennsylvania talk about this. 70% of the people that have become addicted to heroin have begun on some form of a prescription. Either
Wow, so some
either a
kind of
legal
painkiller.
prescription or
Wow.
an illegally received prescription. So if 70% of the people that are on heroin started on these pills that are being manufactured by these companies, what better way to start to get them away from people than putting drug drop-off boxes in there? At least it's a step in the right
is
direction,
interesting.
right?
This is
Yeah.
very
These are big numbers. 70%.
Well, it can only come from a common sense patriot Republican like
Yeah,
yourself.
right.
Because I know the Democrats are saying, well, this is not the way. We have to do this. Give more money to Washington.
Right. Yeah. In some cases, it is. That's why I say all of us need to come together on this.
Oh, my gosh.
They all need to come together on this because I don't care whether and I'm just going to say, I don't care whether you talk to a D or an R about this issue that I'm speaking of.
It should be common sense.
You get like, oh no. No, we'll talk to the DEA about it. Well, okay, that's not going anyplace. I might as well talk to this glass table. You have to laugh after a while because it just seems practical, right?
Well, we're so grateful for all the job that you guys are doing and how you're standing up for the citizens and, just protecting the Constitution from all, because you have so many people that are trying to tear it into shreds. I mean, we saw that with the Obama administration. We saw it in Washington. We see it with the cover-up of the Kennedy stuff. And we just need patriots who are there, hardworking, 34 years in Ace, hardware, you know what I mean, serving the neighbors of Milford. I mean, this is fantastic. This is what America's all about, and about taking that local control and local issues back from Washington.
Yeah, absolutely, it is.
And Harrisburg.
And it starts at the local level. That's what I look at. Prior to this, I was the borough president of Milford for 25 years, from the time I was 29 years old until I became commissioner. That job absolutely had, neither of these jobs have a lot to do with a lot of money. And the borough president job paid $1 a day. But I felt it's so important to be part of my community and give back to the community and try to come up with practical solutions to, you can say in a small town, small items, but small items mean a lot to people on an everyday life,
sure.
right? Believe it or not, making sure there's no potholes in the road is really important to a lot of people, and if that's what you're in charge of, just make sure you do a good job at it, right? That's all we expect.
That's right.
So, being part of that, and that's about helping the community, and that's what my life has always been, whether it's the United Way, whether it's my church, whatever it is, it's making sure that people's lives are a little bit stronger and they have a little bit of hope when they wake up in the morning,
Praise God.
A question to ask people many times is, what keeps you up at night? What is it that is really on your mind, And I'm not talking about, well, I want to make sure I can go out and buy a Mercedes tomorrow. That's not, I'm talking more about, what is it that's important to you and your children, and as a county commissioner, what is it that I can do to help your life a little better,
Well, you guys doing a phenomenal job. We're so grateful. Coming out of New York, it's like you literally left like a communist state, and you feel like you're back in Americana. But what would you say to young people who should be more politically active? They should be more politically aware. They should be aware of these issues. They should be aware of these kind of things. But many times they're just like on video games. They're on their smartphone all day long. They're just totally unaware of what's going on in the world. Many of them think they're like some kind of Pokemon or something.
Right.
I mean, what would you say to young people who want to get involved in politics and make a difference? Serve their community and also preserve the America and the Constitution that we have.
Well, I think it's important for them to understand that, look at your own little town. I know we can all get wrapped up in national politics, but but if we each of us just look at what we can do in our communities, that'll just blossom out, because one community does it, the next community does it, and then we'll just take charge of the people that live in our town, Like I've said to
Right.
people, they bring up issues about health care and these things that, and I have opinions on those in Washington, but you know what? In my role, there's very little I can do. So, I tell young people, borough council positions, small town political positions, take those positions, go on there and try to make a difference in your community, and you can build up to bigger positions,
How hard is it, for example, to be like a bureau on the bureau committee or
on the borough?
board?
No, not very different. Well, you hear there's a vacancy on a planning commission, take a position on a planning commission, I
And
mean,
there's no
I'll tell
legal
you,
age restriction on that?
no, as long as you're
Wow, so
over,
people-
as long as you're over 18,
Yeah.
So how did I get involved? It's a really, me and my wife got married in 1984. We live in town, and we decide that for whatever reason, on a Monday night, first Monday of every month, we're going to go to the borough council meetings. So we go to the borough council meetings for a year, and I go in there and we're the only ones sitting there. I'm 27 years old. I'm the only one there. My
Wow.
wife is
So you're
23.
politically awake at that.
So we're sitting there, we're just listening. And every meeting, this older man that belonged to the borough council was Merritt Quinn, who lived to be 95, but he's in his 60s,
Wow,
and he
God
says
bless
to me at every meeting, "Matt, you got anything to say?" "Nope, just here to listen, Merritt." "Okay." This went on for until 1987. 1986 it was actually, two members on the borough council became gravely ill and had to resign. They were older. So I get a call from Merritt, and he says to me, "Matt, you want to be on the borough council?" So I'm 28 years
Wow,
old,
so
29
just
years
God
old.
opened that door, boom.
Right, yeah, just for me going to these meetings. And I said to him, so why do you think I should be on the borough council? I mean, I'm 28, 29, whatever I am, in that range, right? And he looks at me and goes, "You know why? Because you're the only one besides us that knows what's going on in this town." Because I took the effort to go to the meeting and just sit there and listen. And
Wow, that's an inspirational story.
his next piece of advice to me was, the sage advice, looked at me, and I said to him, "Well, what do I do? I mean, I'm going to go sit up on the front of this board." And he says, "Here's what you do. For the first year, I want you to sit up there, keep your mouth shut, and listen." And I took his advice, and 3 years later, I was the chairman of the board, and I sat at that
Wow.
position for 25 years. So he gave sage advice, because too many times we all don't listen, right? We're too busy
Yeah.
thinking about the next thing we're going to say instead of sitting there and just hearing what people have to say.
Wow.
Right.
County Commissioner Matt Osterberg. It's so amazing. What an amazing story. What an inspirational advice right there. Sage wisdom right there. Sage wisdom from a patriot right there. Young people, get out, get active. Just show up at your meetings. I mean, as simple as that, right?
Yeah.
And then God opens the doors.
God does open the doors for a lot of
God
things.
opens the doors.
Yeah.
And God is good. God has been good to you, hasn't he?
God has been extremely good, and how things in your life make you build your faith even stronger,
Yeah.
I'll share with you that 2 years ago, coming up this Christmas, I was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, wow.
And talk about a wake-up call, right? Talk
Wow.
about something that makes you realize how your life can be gone in a flash, But it also
Really?
woke me and
Wow.
my wife up to believe how much stronger our belief in God is, and
Yes,
how much
yes.
we appreciate everything in this world, and that it can be taken away in a flash,
Wow.
Thank God we went to the right doctors.
Good, good.
Again, we came from New York, but I went back to New York because,
Hey.
Sloan Kettering is a really amazing place, and they literally saved my life.
Wow. So that's,
Yeah. So, you talk about how you can feel like, you're invincible. Even at 58, I'm invincible, My dad lived to be 89. I got another 30 years. Something like that happens. You sit there in the car by yourself, because I went to the doctor not knowing he was going to diagnose this.
Wow.
Riding home thinking, oh my God, I got a granddaughter who's just, 2 years old, a year and a half old, What
Man.
happened, So part of it was risky behavior, smoking cigarettes. Don't smoke. I'm truly, that's it, because we all think we're invincible, Oh, I can just
Yeah,
smoke a
yeah.
couple of cigarettes here and there, and it came back to wake me up. And it woke me up to the point where that's why I'm so passionate about these things, like the stigmas of people and how life is so precious, There's enough that goes on in our lives that can take our lives without us, doing things like addictions and everything, or having people make you think that something is not addictive and it's good for you,
oh, goodness. Which they did with cigarettes.
Right, and that's what, we'll go back to the opiates, they have made us believe that this stuff, we need this to survive. No, we don't need this to survive.
Wow.
We don't need it,
So God used a tremendous situation in your life to, wow, hey, and positioned you in now being able to bring this issue to light. I mean, you're waking us all up about this thing,
Yeah.
because we didn't even hear about oxycodone or Narcan, this kind of thing. This is so empowering information for us to understand these real issues.
Right.
Maybe
Yeah, and
God's-
like I
maybe
said,
God's position you there.
to fix it is takes enormous energy
Yeah.
to really fix. But what I'm trying to just say, there's little things we can do that can certainly make a difference in people's lives. If Narcan saves one person, that's a good thing, right? Especially if you're that one person, or that
That's
one
right.
person is your son, your daughter, your grandson, or whoever it is, right? That's that important. So why would we make it so much more difficult for people to be able to obtain this
have
stuff,
that.
Why should we make it so hard for people to dispose of things so we can get this stuff, this poison, away from our young children? I mean, you read it in the paper, you see that there's accidental overdoses of little 4-year-olds because they get their hands on something, Yeah, because, people are
Tragedy.
busy, and the child maybe shouldn't have gotten into that, but you know what? We should make this so much easier, and it shouldn't be out there.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to hold these people responsible. And I expect our people in Washington to do that. And, I'll go back to it. And at least last week, what we heard from President Trump was, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make a stand, Hopefully we continue to go down that. Of course, people criticized that he didn't do it the right way. There's always a good reason to be the critic,
Oh, right.
Yeah, right. I think that's Theodore Roosevelt who said that. It's easy to be the critic, Well, how about coming up with the solutions instead of just sitting there and throwing the rocks,
Exactly.
Again, it's easy to throw the rocks
Exactly.
too, right?
And of course, that's happening on the local level. It starts with your commissioners, your bureau counties, that you just go and just attend and go sit with them and get to know the folks who are trying to do their best, especially at the local level, to make society, make our lives better. We thank you so much, Commissioner Osterberg, for
Thank
joining
you
us this
very
morning.
much.
It's been a real privilege and honor to have
It's a beautiful,
you.
clear
There's
day
the
now.
morning.
I'm looking over the mountains.
There we go.
Absolutely beautiful.
Beautiful. And of course, we'll see you guys. Everybody else, please stay healthy. Just keep the president in your prayers. Keep our commissioner in your prayers. And of course, in his health, in his body health, his spiritual health, everything. His family, his children, his grandchildren. He's always in our prayers. We thank you for all the work that you're doing. You guys get a lot of grief, from a lot of people a lot of times, but you guys are doing a tremendous job, and we're very grateful. We'll see all of you folks tomorrow, 5 a.m. sharp, on the King's Report. God bless, Godspeed, and may His kingdom come.